Moin Moin and welcome to Ralfs Foto-Bude. Today I will show you a new mirrorless camera. It comes from Samsung and it's the NX500. A year ago, a little bit more, I presented to you the NX300. That's the former model of the Samsung NX series. And the new big one, that's the NX1, the professional mirrorless camera of the Samsung series. The NX500 comes with, I don't know if it's exactly, but almost the same sensor like the NX1. It's 28 megapixel and it's an APS-C sensor. We have a look here when we dismount the lens. Here is the 28 megapixel APS-C sensor. And so the quality should be the same. I make some shots with the NX1 and the NX300 and so the differences are not very big, or even you don't see the differences, so that's the reason why I think it's the same sensor. The main topics of the NX500: it comes with a turnable display, a touchscreen display, so you can turn up the display also up to the selfie function for selfie videos or selfie photos. It's a touchscreen and an OLED screen, so it's also bright in the sunlight, and you will see, not in the real bright sunlight, everything on the monitor, but in a little bit more light situation you will see enough on the monitor. The reason why I say this is because the NX500, because it's a compact mirrorless camera, doesn't have an electronic or optical viewfinder, so you have to deal with the OLED monitor on the back side of the camera. The camera doesn't have a built-in flash, but on top of the camera we have a flash shoe, and the camera comes with a small external flash, so you can use the external flash. You don't have to buy a big external flash. It comes with the NX500 in the package. One of the important points of the NX500, like the NX1, you can take videos in 4K. So that's a very important point, because the newer cameras can all full HD 1920 by 1080, but some of the new cameras, also like the Panasonic or some of the Sony cameras, has now 4K video. So that gives you a little bit more playground for the after production of the videos. You can make zooms in the videos, you can stabilize the videos a little bit better, and so 4K is not only important if you make 4K videos, but also important if you make only full HD videos, and you will get a little bit more around the video to scale it down to the full HD mode. So coming to the buttons and dials of the camera, I will give you a short overview and then I will explain at the point in the menu what you can use in the menus and what for are the different points in the menu. Coming to the top side of the camera, here we have the flash shoe. As said before, we have the stereo microphone. Here you can see 4K video. We have the Wi-Fi button here. We have a dial where you can make different setups, on-off switch, shutter release, and here is the AEL, auto exposure lock button, and you have the program dial. Starting with the P for program mode, then AS for aperture and shutter priority, M for the manual mode, C is for the custom mode. In the custom mode you have the possibility to make an individual setting with a camera in program, aperture priority, shutter priority or manual, and you also can make different settings in the camera. So when you go to the custom mode you will get all the settings you made before, so you have to change between different settings, so that's a very nice feature. Coming to the SAS point here on the dial, SAS. First, when I turned the camera to the SAS mode, I didn't know exactly what this means. But then here you see you have a baseball player and you have a red line, and what the camera makes is when you get the ball to the player and it goes over the red line, the camera will make a picture. And you can set this also to jumping, and you can set this also to drops or something vertical which goes down. So you have 3 different options to set up the camera, and when the subject comes to the certain point you marked in the picture, the camera will make a shutter release, and so there's a big chance you get exactly the right moment. So this works for baseball or for jumping, and for like pictures like a drop which comes down. Next point on the program dial is the S function, and in the S function you have different modes. We go to waterfall, multi-exposure, silhouette, sunset, night, fireworks, light trace, beauty phase, landscape, action freeze, rich tones, and back to the panorama function. And I will show you how this works, because it's the nice function, the nice panorama function, where the camera stitches all the pictures automatically together. So just hold the camera in front of you, release the shutter, and then turn the camera from the left to the right, and that's it. Here we have the result of my small studio. So that's my small studio in the panorama function. So very easy to work with the panorama function. Last function on the program dial is auto, and in the auto function the camera makes everything by herself. So sets the ISO, aperture, shutter speed, picture color, and everything. So that's the automatic function the camera use. Coming to the back side of the camera, here we have a second dial where we can make different settings. We have the exposure value to correct the exposure value, the menu button. As I said before, we also have the menu button here on the screen, and when you touch on the screen you also get the menu, and the menu is also full touch screen menu. So every function you have in the menu you can make with the touch screen, or either with the 4-way button here on the back side of the camera. Then we have the 4-way button, and when you press the left one you have the different drives, from single to continuous, low and high, burst mode, timer, and so on. And when you have a arrow here over the point you selected, then you go up, and then you have a different setting, different options here. So that's good to know when you're in the menu and have an arrow like this. Go up and you get different options. If you press the down button, you should have, no, we have to go to P, because in auto there is no ISO selection. Then we press the ISO button, you have the setting auto, or starts from ISO 100 up to 25,600. So that's the standard highest ISO setting. And then we have 51,200. That's the highest value when you make the, I go to the menu and then I show you what I mean is the ISO expansion. That's the ISO expansion. Turn it off, and the highest value you can make is 25,600. That's the word what I'm searching for. ISO expansion. Sorry for this. So, going back to the menu, or go into the menu, I will show you talking about the ISO setting. When you're in the auto ISO setting, I go now to the auto ISO setting here, you have the option for the minimum shutter speed. So you can set a minimum shutter speed when the shutter goes longer or should go longer than the minimum shutter speed. The next ISO step is coming. That's very good because if you use different lenses like a telephoto lens or wide angle lens, if you use the telephoto lens, the shutter speed should be shorter. If you use a wide angle lens, the shutter speed can be longer. And the camera, the NX500, has a very interesting function, and that's the function auto link to focal length. So the camera checks the focal length you have, and if you have a longer lens like 200 or 400 millimeter, the shutter speed goes up to 1/200th or 1/500th of a second. If you have a wide angle lens, the shutter speed goes down like to a 50th of a second or a 20th of a second. So that's very good because the ISO doesn't go up on a certain step, but it's variable. Depends on the lens, depends on the focal length, and then in the ISO setting, the ISO speed goes up and up and up at a certain point where the focal length is important to the shutter speed. Usually you say to make a picture out of the hand, the shutter speed shouldn't get longer than one of the focal length. So if you use a lens with 100 millimeter, the shutter speed shouldn't get longer than 1/100th of a second, usually 1/125th of the second. So that makes the camera automatically. You don't set a certain point, a certain speed. The camera looks for the focal length and makes the speed variable where the next ISO step gets up. So a very nice function. Pressing on the top button here, that's the disp button. There you can see we have different display settings, and one of the display settings is the level meter here. So you have the level meter. When we turn the screen a little bit, you will see we have the level meter in this direction and also in this direction. So that's a 3D level meter. On the right side, we have the AF, and there we can make different autofocus settings or focus settings. We start with the single autofocus, then we have the continuous autofocus, active autofocus, and manual focus. In the active autofocus, the camera decides by herself if she uses single autofocus with a stable subject, or if it uses the continuous autofocus when the subject is moving. So the camera decides by herself which one is the best autofocus setting. So these are the 4 buttons here. In the middle we have the OK button, where you can move also the autofocus field, but it's much easier to use the finger to move the autofocus field to a certain point. Here we have the replay button, where you can get the replay of the pictures or videos you have taken. Then we have the FN button. FN button is very important because when you use the FN button, you get the most important settings directly on the screen, and you can make the change very easy. If you want to change the white balance, just press the finger on this button, and here we have the different white balance settings. We have the auto white balance setting, and then different presets. And in every preset, you also can make the individual setting of the white balance point here in the color quarter, and can make an individual setting of the white balance for every preset we have here at the camera. So that's the FN button. I want to go back to the auto white balance, and this is very easy here with this camera with the touch screen. Exactly the same if you want to change the different metering modes or the drive modes. First we have here the different drive modes. We have the different autofocus area modes where you can set different autofocus areas. We have the different metering modes from multiple to center, from multiple to center, and spot metering. And so that's very easy to deal with the function button and the settings. If you look for the last button here on the camera, that's the trash and custom button. This one is very important because if you press this button, the camera changes from the auto mode to, from the photo mode to the video mode. You see, we have here the black bars on top and on bottom of the camera, so that's the 16:9 frame for video. You see here the mic meter where you have the microphone level, and so that's the button to change between photo and video mode. This is important because we don't have here on the dial different modes for photo and video. Usually on some cameras we have this setting here on the dial, so you change between the photo and video mode if you change it on the dial here, but at this camera the only difference is just press this button and you change between the two modes. To start a video, we have here the special rec button. Just press the rec button and you start a video. On top we have a small arrow. When you press on this arrow you have the display brightness, storage and battery level, and Bluetooth and Wi-Fi network connection. So these are the important infos here you have on the camera. As I said before, everything you can also use by touchscreen. So either if this is the FN mode, or if it is the menu, or if you want to change between the different touch AF mode, if you want totally turn it off, or if you want tracking, or if you want the one touch shot, then just press the button, and if you get something in focus, the camera will make a shutter release, and that's it. So you have the different options here directly on the screen, so that's very easy to use. And that's what I said before, the custom settings. You have here the button to put on their finger, and then you have the custom settings, and these settings are saved then to the C here on top of the camera, on the top dial of the camera. Okay, so let's have a look into the menu. Starting with the photo function here, starting with the photo function, we have the different sizes. 28 megapixel, as I said before, 3:2 different resolutions, 16:9 different resolutions, and 1:1 different resolutions. Quality, we have the three options in JPEG: superfine, fine, and normal. And then we have the RAW file and the combination of RAW, superfine, fine, and normal. ISO setting, that's what I said before, starts with ISO 100 and goes up 25,600. And in the extended or expanded ISO setting, we have the 51-2000 also. ISO customizing, one step, ISO auto ISO range and ISO expansion, showed you before. Okay. OLED color, so here you can change the brightness of the monitor. White balance, showed you before the different settings here of the white balance. You also can use the setting in Kelvin, and we go to auto white balance. Picture wizard, we have the different settings here from standard, you see vivid, portrait, landscape, forest, and so on, different settings. And again, you can customize all these settings. So if you want to customize these settings, just go up, and then we have the settings colors in the three different settings for red, green, and blue. We have the saturation, sharpness, contrast, and hue, so you can individualize every setting by yourself. As I said before, when you see the small arrow here over the point you have chosen here, then we have additional settings by pressing the top button here on the four-way button. After the picture wizard, we have the smart filters, but to set, I want to go to the smart filters, I have to check, just give me a second, how to use the smart filters. I think we have to use the auto ISO, just give me a second. No, we are, yes, that's the reason. We have to turn off the picture wizard, sorry for this, turn off the picture wizard, and then we get the smart filters. Both both together doesn't work, so sorry, I thought I would in the picture wizard off, but now we're picture wizard off and we have the smart filters, vignetting, miniature. You see we have here different settings for the smart filter. So that's it, sorry for the delay. But sometimes I don't see everything immediately. RF mode, what I said before, single continuous active, I go back to single mode. Then we have the AF area, selection, zone or multi, which you can change. We have the face detection if you want to make pictures with different people in the scene, then you can activate the face detection. Touch autofocus, that's what I showed you before. MF assistant, if you use the manual focus, you can enlarge the picture 5 times or 8 times to make a better control of the sharpness. DMF is digital manual or direct manual focus. At this point you can use if you want first to make the autofocus and then afterwards you make the individual correction with the manual focus. So that's DMF. MF response is low or fast. MF responsiveness, so what a difficult word, is mainly for video. So if you want to set the manual focus and change the focus a little bit, these lenses have electronic focuses, so they are not mechanical, but they work electronic. And so it depends when you turn the ring slower or faster, how the manual focus works. So that's the reason why you have the different settings. So you can decide if you want to make a movie and change the focus. There you can decide how fast the focus works and how fast the focus comes when you turn the dial. So that's a very nice function for videographers. AF release priority, here you can decide whether you want a focus release priority or if you want to a release priority. If you use the release priority, the camera will release either if the picture is not sharp. You see, here's my hand in front of the picture is not sharp, but the camera will release every time. So, and if I set this here to focus, make the same test, you will see nothing happens. You get the red square. So the camera says, no, I'm not in focus, I can't release, and so that's the reason. And now when I go to a sharp point here, the camera releases. So that's the difference between the AF release priority focus and release. Next point is focus peaking. If you want to manual focus, it gives you a good hint if the picture is sharp or not. Link auto exposure to autofocus point is if you want to have both on one point, exposure and focus, then you link them together. This means the same safe selection at the autofocus position. That means you want to save the point where the autofocus works. Overexposure guide is for video. Here you have these black and white, the zebra lines. You see them a little bit here down. Yeah, here we have them for overexposure warning. That's important for videos. Framing mode, drive, that's what we have before. Single, continuous, normal, and burst mode. Framing mode, exactly. I don't know what this means. I didn't know this in the German video also, and so I don't know what the framing mode means. I'm so sorry, I don't find it in the manual, and I don't find a difference what it means. Interval timer, you can make an interval timer. You set the time, you set the count, start time, and time lapse on off, and that's it. So you can make an interval capture, time lapse, very nice. I have to turn this one off. OES, anti-shake, optical image stabilizer, you can set them to different settings. We have here off, mode 1 and mode 2. Metering, multi-sender weighted spot, showed you before. Dynamic range, I don't actually use it. You have the smart range, or you have the, it's not good to see the HDR mode, but let's be honest, I work in RAW, and when I want to make a perfect picture, I work in Lightroom and develop it in RAW, so I don't need the smart range or HDR mode. Flash, that's what I said before, you have an external flash here on top of the camera. Next point, there are settings for the external flash, and that's it. So let's go to the movie section. Movie size, here we are, and here we have the different settings in the movie. Full HD mode, 50, and here we are with the 4K mode, Cinema 4K, 4096 by 2160, and the normal 4K mode, 3840 by 2160. I have to change this now in the NTSC mode because now we are in the PAL mode. So I have to change this in, here we are in NTSC, because when we are in NTSC we also will get the 60 and 30p mode, and that's for NTSC important. 2 points I will show you at this point of my presentation. First of all, you know that I'm a copter pilot. I fly some hexacopters also from DJI, the Inspire and the Unique H920, so I fly different copters. I make a lot of copter videos here on this channel, and we are always looking for a good 4K camera which comes under the copter to take 4K videos, a camera which is not too heavy, which has a good quality. And so when the NX500 came out, I was very pleased because I thought, wow, that's the camera I can put under my copter. But then at this point I tried something, because I have to get the picture from the copter down to the remote control, down to the FPV monitor, and that works over HDMI. And so what I did was, I've put the HDMI cable here on the side of the camera. We have the HDMI and the USB port. I've put the camera to the HDMI cable, turned my monitor on, and looked what happened. Here is the monitor. So what happens? Here we are. When I now go to the menu and go to the movie size, that's what happens. The 4K modes are not available. There's only the full HD mode in 30p available and the lower resolutions, but not the 4K mode. So check again, move the cable out, go back into the menu, and here we have the different 4K settings. So this means when I want to use the NX500, I can't use the NX500 on the copter in 4K because I don't get the FPV signal down to the pilot. So sorry for Samsung, this would be a perfect camera for 4K videos on the copter, but at this point we can't use it because we don't get the picture down to the pilot. And one important point is also when you go to the 4K mode, the camera makes a crop. I will show you what this means. Here we have the picture. I go to the most possible wide angle. You see we have the most possible wide angle here on top. This says 16mm. Now we go to the menu and we set it to the Full HD mode. When I now go to the video mode by pressing the button here, this one I showed you before, this one is to change between photo and video mode. And now when I press the button and go to the video mode, you see we have exactly the same area. The only thing is we have the black on top and on the bottom of the display. Now, going again to the menu, now we choose the 4K mode. Okay, so this is the picture in the photo mode, and now we change to the video mode. And what you will see is we get a crop back. This is photo, this is 4K, photo and 4K. So when you use the 4K mode with the NX500, you have to deal with a crop. So at this point we have a 16 by 50mm lens. 16 means to a full frame sensor like 25mm, but if you go to 4K, it's almost the double, or it's a double, it's 50mm. So if you want to make wide angle movies in the 4K mode, you have to use a real wide angle, because even if you use the 16mm, and that's a real good wide angle, you don't get this in the 4K video. So the crop in the 4K gives you, I think it's almost 2 times cropped at the 4K mode compared to the Full HD or to the photo mode. So that's what you have to deal with when you want to shoot 4K with the NX500. Okay, so going back to the menu, we have the movie quality. Here we have 3 different options. The third options came out with a new firmware update, which comes, I think, at the beginning of July. We get the firmware update. Before we had only normal and high quality, and now we have the Pro option, and the Pro options gives you 70 megabit per second. So that's a real good value. And another point which I should mention is the codec, which Samsung uses also on the NX1. The codec is H.265 and not 264. So the problem is, the new codec of the Samsung, you can't use this video material in programs like Premiere CC or Premiere, the smaller Premiere editions. You can't use it in Final Cut Pro X because they don't understand this new codec H.265. They only understand the old codec. So you have to transcode the stuff from the camera first if you want to use the 4K or the Full HD material in these programs. It's not possible at this moment that you use it without transcoding in a different codec. And so you have to take the time, you have to transcode it. And I think I don't know why Samsung doesn't offer both codecs, so that Samsung says, okay, we have the old codec which you can use in the programs, and we have the new codec. Because the problem is, when you make a lot of movies, it takes a long time to transcode the videos from one codec to the other codec. You have to use the Samsung program or the Samsung software. They have a software where you can transcode it, or you can use stuff like Wondershare. This works very fast and very fine for me. So when we want to use the material out of the Samsung, we use always Wondershare, which works real nice and gives a good result. Fast and slow movie, these are points which you can use. The fast movie is no problem, you can use it always, but if you want to use a slow-mo, you have to go down with the movie size. So if you go down to with the movie size to the small HD resolution you see here, you can use 120p. So if you go down to 1280 720 with the 30p, then you go to the slow-mo, then you can go down to 120 pictures and you have a 4x slow-mo, but only if you go down with the resolution. If you use the full resolution, full HD resolution and 60 pictures per second, then you have no option to use a slow-mo, then you have only the fast method which you can use. AF response is how the autofocus should work. AF shift speed also. So these are points where you can set up the AF speed. If you want to make movie with autofocus, then there's no pumping or too fast following the subject which is moving. So then the focus a little bit slower, a little bit smoother when you slow down the speed here. Then you have a fader, you have the voice, you have the wind cut, microphone level, smart range, and that's it. Coming to the individual setting, manage the custom mode, that's what I showed you before. Raw compression, noise reduction. Here you have different settings for the noise reduction, for high ISO and long-term settings. Color space, usual display, which you can set up, individual grid lines, which you can set in, the center marker, key mapping, EFN setting. IFN, that's the function here on the side of the lens. We have here the I function button, and if you press the I function button, you can call different settings here. One, press ISO, next one exposure value correction, auto white balance, and the magnifier. So you have here different settings just by pressing the button on the side of the lens. Real nice function to make fast changes in the settings. Lens button speed setting, that's here the if you have a motorized zoom, that's the speed for the zoom, slow or fast. That's also important for the video. If you want to make a video with a zoom, touch operation on the back side of the camera, auto self shot, AF lamp, e-shutter, mobile link with the combination or the contact from the camera with your smartphone, and that's it. At the last point, we have the standard settings in the setup menu, like sound, quick view, display adjust, auto display, power save, help guide display, language, date, time, video out, HDMI output, file name, number, folder format, Wi-Fi network, and that's it. Sensor cleaning. So these are the standard settings here which you can make in the menu. One point I will show, that's the combination of the camera with the smartphone. So on top of the camera we have the button where you can set up the connection to the smartphone. Here we are. I want the remote viewfinder. Okay, so the camera starts working. I go to my smartphone, go to the Wi-Fi options, and here in the Wi-Fi options I will find the NX500, go to the NX500, and then my smartphone connects to the camera. Takes a second. Hope so. Yes, here we are. And then we go to the app, start the Samsung app, and that's it. Then we have the connection, and here's our picture which we have, and here we can make different settings, the resolution. We have here the different settings for the video format, touch AF, and so on. So you have a lot of settings here which you can make remotely from your smartphone. For sure, you can make a picture. Here we are. We can start a video. We have different modes. We can transfer the picture from the camera to the smartphone. So there are some real nice functions in, and this works very good. So this is one of the points. I like of the Samsung, the connection, the Wi-Fi connection between the camera and the smartphone. Coming to the picture quality, as I said before, the picture quality is on the same level like the NX1. We have, I think, the same sensor. We have some good lenses from Samsung, so this gives you a real good quality. I would say up to ISO 1600 you get pictures with less noise. Beginning from ISO 1600s you will see a little bit noise, but okay, we have the 28 megapixels, so we have a lot of details, and this means we have also a little bit earlier the noise in the picture from the high ISO settings. So that's normal. High resolution on the one side and noise on the other side. If you have the high resolution, it's exactly the same like we have at the Sony Alpha 7 series. We have the 12 megapixel Alpha S with almost no noise in even the highest resolution, even the highest ISO settings, and we have the Alpha 7R Mark II with 42 megapixel, and there the noise comes very early if you go to the higher ISO setting. But you have a lot of more details in the picture, so you have to decide between both. And I think 28 megapixel on an APS-C sensor, that is a real good compromise between both high resolution, lots of details, and also good noise resolution, or not good, but a fair noise result in the higher ISO settings. So this is a Sony. I was on Sony. No, this is the Samsung NX500 APS-C camera with 28 megapixel, turnable touchscreen up to the selfie function, 4K video, full HD video, lots of features in the camera, lots of settings in the camera which you can customize. Easy to use, easy to understand in the menus. You have the touchscreen which gives you a lot of help in the camera, in working with the camera, because you can make a lot of settings by touchscreen, and so I think it's easy to learn and easy to understand to work with the NX500. One thing I miss is the microphone in. We can't use an external microphone or an external headphone. We have only the microphone, the built-in microphone here at the camera. But okay, this is a compact class camera. This is not the big one like the NX1 where you have all the things you need. And so the NX500 is also a good second camera if you have the NX1 for traveling, because you can have a little smaller camera, lightweight camera, 300 grams weight the body, and so this is a good option if you have an NX1 to get this one as a second camera for traveling or for family holidays or stuff like this. That's it for today for the Samsung NX500. Hopefully in the next days there are coming some more cameras. We have some new cameras that were coming up, something from Panasonic, and I hope I will get the camera soon so I can make the presentation here of these new cameras. So stay tuned. And for sure we will have some more copter videos when there's something new and there are some more questions about the new copters, especially from DJI and Unique, which I make most here on my channel. If you like the video, yes, please give me a like, subscribe to my channel, stay tuned, and as always I say bye and moin moin.